What are we going to do about some Will Smith? Hey, everybody, I'm Nicole Kaufman. I'm the right therapist. You know, I couldn't let another day go by without weighing in on this whole Will Smith, Chris Rock controversy. Welcome to the right therapist. You are tuned in to Nicole Kaufman, and I am a division here at the right therapist of the conservative take. So, of course, we are going to weigh in on the shenanigans that happened at the Oscars. And this was some true ratchet, just silliness that went on here. And good for the Oscars in a way, because their viewership was down by at least 30 million people. So it did get people talking about it. At least we could have some distraction from Biden's gaffes. While overseas, his talking about using chemical weapons and responding in kind. He's talking about U.S. troops being on the ground and what they would see when they were over there. And of course, what we can't forget him talking about being in favor of apparently a regime change, that he's not walking back, and he's just not going to walk anything back because he didn't say it. So all of this dovetails together in my feeble therapist mind because I just tend to come away from the whole talk of everything, politically, the whole talk of everything, entertainment-wise, that words apparently don't mean anything. Words mean nothing. And least of all, the words coming out of Will Smith's mouth. Can I just tell you that right now? That the words that he said both before, during, and after the assault on Chris Rock were absolutely meaningless. And we have come to a time, I think, in our society now that you can just define your own terms and you get to decide what words mean. And the rest of us are left scratching our head going, really, really? So it's the slap that was heard round the world. As most of you know, Chris Rock made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith, who apparently is suffering a condition that causes her hair to fall out called alopecia. It is not altogether rare, from my understanding. And ostensibly, Chris Rock did not know that Jada had this condition and made a joke about the next G.I. Jane movie, in which I believe it was Demi Moore who played it last time, shaved her head. And so, of course, the allusion was to having a bald head in the movie. And at first, the camera cut to Will Smith, and he was laughing, though he did look over at his wife and saw that Jada Pinkett Smith was indeed not laughing. Now, a couple of things can and could have happened here that did not. And so, in my clinical opinion, there were multi layers of things going on here. One of the things that was definitely at play here was a question of Will Smith's masculinity. And we know that masculinity has more or less been brought into question on several levels, even with the couple themselves, because they have talked a great deal about their marriage being an open marriage. And just in loose terms, we know that an open marriage just knows that you're married, but you're allowed to kind of see other people while being married. And the conservative take definitely is not a fan of open marriage. That is not our platform here, as many of you know. But my point is that Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith are trying to spin this concept in a way that translates to freedom and openness and love. And what I have come away with based on the current events and Will Smith's behavior is that basically we have a cuckolded man here. And by cuckolded, I mean that this individual he has been devoid of his masculinity because basically his place in the family as a man, as a husband, has been undercut by his wife, and he has allowed it to happen. So this medical is now having his masculinity and his position as a man, as a husband, challenged. And I think that's what really kind of came up in Will Smith's ego, if I might psychoanalyze him, however briefly here. I think that's what came up for him as his wife shot him a look with that joke. Now, some thoughts occurred to me that now, was it appropriate that Will Smith get up and fight for his woman or protect her or shield her honor? Is that what he was doing by walking on stage and assaulting Chris Rock? I don't believe it was. I really don't. I think that was Will making this issue about himself. I think it was Will making the show about himself. It was about making the Oscars about himself. And if they had truly been upset, and I say they, if the two of them had given each other a nod, an understanding nod, and maybe you've done that with your partner, when you didn't like what was going on at a specific event, if you'd given your partner an understanding nod, what do? You vote with your feet. Meaning, you get yourself up, you gather yourself, and you say that you're not going to stand for this, and you walk right out. In my clinical opinion, that's what should have been done. But that's clearly what didn't happen. And why would it? Because we've got a room full of egocentric people. And we all know that Will Smith was up to win the biggest award of the evening. So could he, as an egocentric, self-involved narcissist, and I do think he's narcissistic as well as most of the people in that room because they love themselves so much and think that they are so amazingly wonderful and that they are all our moral betters, but they wouldn't stoop so low as to leave. They wouldn't actually stand on moral principle. They're free and they feel more than happy to lecture the rest of us as their moral betters, these people in Hollywood, but yet they won't stand on principle. And if he really felt so activated, if both of them felt so offended by what Chris Rock said, why didn't they leave? The other question I have is, why did the show go on? Why didn't we cut to commercial? Why, if one of Jada Pinkett's friends had gone up on stage and assaulted Chris Rock on her behalf, supposedly defending her honor, would that person not have been hauled off in handcuffs by Oscar security? I think these are really valid questions to ask. And I'm agreeing, by the way, with the post done by John Kim, who is the angry therapist out of California. And he had some really good insight to me on what this meant. And I would agree with that. If it had been, wait for it, if it had been a white actor that had gone on stage and assaulted Chris Rock, then where would we be? What would have the conversation sounded like at that point? So I don't know what the answers are, because these are just happenstance musings on my part to think about what could have been, would it have been a little different? Do you think that Will Smith would have gone up and slapped the Rock, not Chris Rock, the Rock across the face? Do you think he would have done that? My magic 8 ball says probably not. I'm thinking no, not really. So Will Smith proceeded to make the entire Oscars about himself and about supposedly love, because love makes you do crazy things. Does love make you go up and hit people in the middle of a show that is being broadcast to approximately 12 million people? What really gives you the right to do that? So I'm just throwing these questions out just to give you all something to think about, because apparently words just don't mean what they're supposed to mean anymore. In an interview with GQ magazine, Will Smith says that Jada is not the only one who has stepped out on their marriage. And he is in the midst of really understanding what love is. This individual, Will Smith, is also saying that, wait for it, comedy diffuses all negativity. It is impossible to be angry, hateful, or violent when you're doubled over laughing. Is it, Will Smith? Is it? I don't think so. I think you were angry. I think you were hateful, and I think you were violent. And I will never, never look at you the same way again in terms of your acting history or who you are as a person, because I now think you are completely disingenuous and have no self-control. I think what you are preaching in terms of finding happiness and doing your life's work and now giving it all away and spreading love in your craft is a bunch of BS. And you just proved it because you let your ego get the best of you. Had Ricky Gervais been giving the monologue this time as opposed to what, last year or the year before, oh my Lord, he would have had to have had a whole team of security with him because he called everybody out unabashedly. But this is what we're faced with now. Is society becoming unraveled? At what point do we have any decorum or any manners whatsoever? And again, I don't have a problem with Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith being completely offended by what was said. So if you're so offended, get up and walk out. But you don't do that. You don't do that. And Will Smith, it just goes to show how confused an individual he is, both in his own identity of himself and in his own relationship. He says that we have given each other trust and freedom with the belief that everybody has to find their own way. And marriage for us can't be a prison, and I don't suggest our road for anybody. He doubles down on this. I don't suggest this road for anybody. Well, then why are you sticking around, dude? Why are you sticking around? I guess you have that commitment. I guess that you're just going to beat the mess out of anybody who says anything about your wife or maybe about you. I don't know. At this point, you look pretty unhinged as far as I can see. But this wasn't protection of your wife's honor. This was more protection of your ego. And I dare say that, slapping someone in the face, especially a man slapping another man, I think I would have had more respect if he would have knocked him out cold, to be honest, because at least that would have been a real hit. It's really interesting that he chose to slap him in that regard. And I think that is what caused everybody to think that perhaps this was staged. And if you're nominated for the highest achievement, and on that night you become so offended that you are moved to violence, then do yourself and everybody else a favor and remove yourself. That would have been the honorable thing to do, Will Smith. And you have just guaranteed, by the way, that I will never allow my small children, perhaps my grandchildren, I don't have small children at this point, but who wants to get their kids in front of the TV and watch this now? All right, I'm not having this. And I won't be lectured any longer from Hollywood on how virtuous and how understanding and accepting you are when you can't even take a joke. So that's my 2 cents today on Will Smith and Chris Rock. Had to give it 24 hours to marinate just to see what the fallout would be. And I'm right here to say that we can do better. Let's try to do better, folks. And we need to find some more role models. And Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith are definitely not our moral betters. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.